my brain, and apparently this is Art of Rock. This is the spaceman in the bottom of your cornflakes. Please don't eat that spaceman in the bottom of your cornflakes, because there's so many reasons to not eat the spaceman in the bottom of your cornflakes. Welcome to Art of Rock. We're doing this all the time. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Tongva people as the traditional landowners of Los Angeles, California. Thank you for surviving, and thank you for your wonderful healing energy. Every Saturday, Art of Rock is here. Please be noted that daylight savings has started in LA land and across the United States land, but not in Germany land, because it's 5 o'clock there, because I can tell by the sun streaming into Alex's apartment. And this is brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon. Thank you so much, everybody who's a part of that. You fucking keep me going, and I want to keep you going. We're going to keep everyone going. And go join my Patreon for $3 a month. The new Ice Planet 9000 album is out. It's there. Go get it. Patreon members get a free copy. It's amazing. If you want to hear more music, and Patreon members get basically free almost everything I do. Including eternal life and enlightenment. That's all included. Industrial Institute's playlist is Trey Bomb. It's great. A whole bunch of old school industrial stuff and a whole bunch of new industrial stuff. Many of which is from the people here, because there's so much new underground music you need to know about. Another piece of underground music you need to know about is MTV TV. And we're going to read there afterwards. I absolutely promise you're going to hear your new favorite track on MTV TV within an hour of listening to it. If you've got a video, send it to it, and they're going to play it. And you're bloody fantastic. MTV TV also have a Patreon. We got to keep these guys going. They are super important to our community and the alternative scene. I am just breakdancing in my pants right now. Yeah, well, yeah. So I've got a question, and my question pertains to, it's hopefully going to launch into something else, because I fear this is boring. My question pertains to, is SoundCloud worth it? Razeil, I didn't even ask the question.
It's your transparency. Yeah, it's worth it. Doesn't cost anything. They don't give you any royalties. What's to be not worth it? In other words, clarify. What do you want out of it?
I think I was looking at the payment plans, and it's definitely not worth it, because you have to have like several million plays a month or something, and you have to pay for it. And then I was also looking at it saying, hey, some of your tracks are monetized, and I went, really? I'm not getting any money. And I'm just wondering, what's with that?
I want to keep it at a really high level, because this is not fair to have independent artists have to keep in their heads and have them ever hope to make another record or learn a new skill for actual music production, because it's confusing as fuck, and there's a lot of royalties involved, and there's a lot of players vying for pieces of the royalty stream. But your mechanical licensor, your distributor, can either send to SoundCloud now and collect royalties on the plays on your behalf, which is not radio style, but interactive style royalties, because people are clicking and playing. Or you can pay a fee to SoundCloud and have them be your distributor and opt in to the royalty streams that they collect on your behalf, and that will also go to the DSPs. And that's a new feature that SoundCloud has been doing, which is not just the SoundCloud for artists or artists plan, which was just a fee that you'd have to pay to hedge against any royalties that they then start giving you. So there's right now like too many scenarios to just answer that question with a, yeah, you should do it because this reason. To illustrate some of my most played, commented, engaged, reposted pieces of recorded music are on SoundCloud under my personal name account. It wasn't even a band thing that I did, but they're all cover tunes, and I don't have licenses for any of them. So none of them are claimed. I'm not, I don't have them. I don't have the compulsory licenses for the song side of the publishing side. So I don't know. They are definitely part of what gets played there, and I don't know currently if anybody's made claims on the publishing to get their songwriter shares of those Dead Can Dance and Bauhaus and some other things. But as far as just engagement and interaction and stuff, like, it's really strong there, commenting and favoriting and occasionally people following and stuff. There's something to it. There's something that's going on over there that's similar to maybe like a Bandcamp or social media where you have a direct interaction with fans. So for that reason, not opting into any of those paid royalty bearing distributor pipelined functions, but just putting stuff up on SoundCloud and doing some tagging and interacting with people, yes, absolutely worth it for that. The other stuff, complicated and requires like a lot of calculations and thought.
Interesting. Thank you very much for that. So my other question, Ivan, talk to me.
So I am using the paid SoundCloud because to me it's not that expensive, especially for what I'm getting out of it, because it dumps my track on everything for me, which saves me a whole lot of pain in the ass.
So you're using it as your agitator.
Yeah, it's my primary. Like if something's on YouTube Music or Spotify, it's because I put it on SoundCloud.
So you made the calculation of SoundCloud versus, for example, DistroKid.
Yeah.
And you said SoundCloud is better.
Yeah, it looked like I could get more places with it. And maybe not. I don't know. But like it handles a lot of the BS for me.
Can I ask you another question?
Handling the BS, I think, is actually the most important part for me.
So I know with SoundCloud, or the SoundCloud I'm on, I have to go into a higher bracket in order to get stuff to Spotify in time for it to come up in my up and coming releases and therefore get pitched. What's that like with SoundCloud?
I think it operates at like roughly the same speed, which is like you really have to plan ahead, which also I'm bad at. So I got to do another release to really like debug this.
Okay.
Which hopefully will happen before Hell Freeze is over. And if you need to ship me a box of poo to get that to happen, then I get what I deserve.
It might be frozen poo.
It'll ship better than or freeze dried.
A shitstickle. Okay, this is interesting. Excuse me. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I wanted to answer your. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I mean, the probably the biggest pain point for me right now on this is, and this is a me thing. This is not a bad thing. You do your release on SoundCloud, and then you've got a presence on all of these streaming services, and then you have to go claim yourself on those, and like it's a whole lot of setting up of stuff that's got to happen, and that just it ends up looking like just a big cloud of process.
It is,
and I haven't refreshed my Contemplar prescription since like November, so I've been out of that stuff for like the better part of all year, and that's what happens when you're on a highly addictive substance that that you don't notice the addictive quality of, because you need it just to go through all that stuff. Blah,
okay.
blah, blah, blah.
No, that's good. Thank you. Rezi, I want to throw it to you in a second. Ivan, I know it sucks doing all of this horrible admin shit where you go through and you're going to go, okay, I'm going to claim my artist on Spotify, Apple, fucking Tidal, fucking Pandora, fucking Amazon. but my God, it's worth it.
Well,
It's
everything's got to be done in the right order,
yeah.
or it gets broken, and like that's why I've not touched claiming all that stuff everywhere,
No.
because I
Do
want to
it,
make
do it,
sure.
do it, do it, do it,
And
do it,
and
do
then
it.
like to do it, you need like assets to make like a like a Facebook presence, so that you then can
All you
claim
need's a
stuff.
page. Yeah.
Yeah, but you need assets to make that page, and
Or an email. And also some of the places are going to say, well, if you're on DistroKid or something else, they streamline the process. It's a lot easier. But I know it sucks, and I know it is a whole bunch of fucking around, but it's worth it. It really, and increasingly, I'm seeing DJs and stuff and podcasts like MTV TV's now started hi Diana, has now also started a playlist on Spotify. And even if you haven't claimed your artist, you can still jump on that. But
yes,
I highly, highly, highly recommend you spend, it might be 8 hours. Actually, it might be more like 5 hours doing the top 6 or so. I don't know fucking how long it is, but do it. Yeah, do it or I'll punch you. Bag of poo for Ivan. Make a note of it. Thank you. Did you want to add anything to it, or do I throw this to the Razzmatazz?
throw it on.
Okay, Razeil, I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Carl, you asked about their turnaround, and I just, on their page, their claim is give it a month. 1 to 3 days for Apple Music and Spotify, but that's the normal kind of caveat that some releases get held up and it could be weeks. TikTok 5 to 7, YouTube Music 2 to 3 days, that kind of thing. So it's the normal,
Cool.
like most of the DSPs do.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, there was one other thing. Oh, the assets delivering to the DSPs for publicity is not as bad as it might be. It's terrible, but once you've got pick an asset for your release cycle, it's a headshot and a color. You keep that folder in a place where you can actually get back to it and just make the rounds of artists.servicename.com. 10 minutes to set up the account, a couple of days to verify, do the thing. Don't have to do it all at once. It doesn't have to be a huge block of time. But if you make that one of your habits, and for whatever reason, that is one of the things I got into the habit of doing successfully out of all the things that I have failed to. You make the rounds and you end up with your artist official check marks and stuff on all the places. And then you got your bookmarks list of all the artists.servicename.com, and you can quickly go and see your stats and be satisfied that you set it up properly. It's not that bad a deal labor-wise. I can understand where mentally it can be a huge block, but maybe breaking it down into doing one at a time once you've got the assets squared away can help you get into it.
Thank you. Also, I will say, try and every year or something to take a new band photo. And it can be as whatever as you want for every album. Carl, take your own advice for God's sake. And also that album should be your face. I'm learning that it can't really be a artist's impression of your face. Algorithms like faces, people like faces. And if you've got an actual face for your artist photo profile, it really, 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 really aids. And I have to do that. Ivan, talk to me. You muted. Ivan, you're still muted.
Okay, I use SoundCloud for 2 things. One, my actual releases, but then also I will upload demos and junk, and then just share those directly with like bandmates and stuff, or friends, so that it's an easy to get to place to find. And you those aren't getting advertised then, because they're what they are. But holy crap, last weekend I uploaded a demo for everybody in the band, and in the last week 140 listens. I don't even know where these people are coming from.
That's great.
Yeah. It's like the thing that's been listened to the most now in a week. I'm sure it's all bots. I'm going to get a ton of offers to, get promoted now.
Yeah, isn't that great? But no, congratulations. And it sounds like, may I ask, how much are you paying a month?
Yeah, I can't remember what the billing on this is. I've got I don't have the pro membership. I've got the one below that.
Okay. It sounds like it's an option.
Yeah, I'll look up what I'm actually paying for it, and I'll be back.
All right. Thank you so much. This is good. Thank you. Alex hit me with brains.
It's kind of funny because I just uploaded something there. I'm not a marketing expert, but every advice I've heard that you should consider SoundCloud as your advertising. Basically something for people to discover you and to reel them into listening to you on the other streaming services.
May I ask, so that's also suggesting that SoundCloud could be worth paying for ads?
I don't know that much, but it could well be the case. I just listened to like superficial advice on that.
That's interesting. I could shoot my mouth off about that.
I uploaded an old track I did because I thought, well, I think the best thing for me right now is to get something to get to know my project, or like to have people following me. And if I have like proper music to drop, then I'll have an audience which can actually then listen to that or not, but maybe to someone to pay attention to my stuff. So that's my idea behind uploading.
That's brilliant. That's really worth looking into, because I found that paid Spotify was a total waste of my money. And obviously Facebook and Instagram is also just a complete catastrophe now, for me at least anyway. It's like, I remember a day you could throw $5 at a campaign and you could get a whole bunch of exposures and you'd get sales and plays. Now it's like $50. So, it's funny that when I do, I will say that when I do look at SoundCloud, I don't see a whole bunch of bots. And people do go onto SoundCloud specifically to find, discover, and listen to music. So that's a good thing. Razeil, wow, you guys are really changing my mind about SoundCloud. Hey, wow, you really are changing my mind about SoundCloud. Now comes in caffeine-free and sugar-free SoundCloud, the choice of the new generation. Alex, go. And then I'm going to throw this to the Resonator.
The other thing that I always surprised me because, my brain isn't functioning so good right now. I always thought that SoundCloud would go bust any moment, but it never did. I don't know if it still will, but yeah, there's that, because they have been having financial trouble for quite a while, but maybe the brand is so strong that investors are willing to just keep funding them, and maybe they're publishing or like distributing endeavors will be more profitable for them. I don't know.
Or maybe the Orchard's going to buy them at any point. Because when you think about it, an agitator with a built-in playing thing, it's the only one to my knowledge in the market. Like no other like station actually. Yeah, no, I mean. Rezi, did you want to add to this?
Yeah, you and Alex both sort of covered the same thing that I was bringing to mind about it being worth it to be there, plus the marketing non-professionals idea. Like, it's essentially the free tier is a great place to just have your stuff for that reason, but the paid tiers, like comparing it to for marketing purposes, that is like something that actually gives you conversion metrics and you can target audiences and stuff for the same types of prices. it doesn't really fit that model as an actual marketing thing. Again, saying this as a non-marketing professional, but I've tried a few things and have heard stuff, which, God, it pains me to put in a positive light Meta's system for doing that or Google's system for doing that. But on their back ends, you get to target your audience and choose your actual creative and your spend and everything. And it's a really total marketing world way of doing it. Whereas paying for Spotify out of your marketing budget doesn't have a traceable return kind of thing. So it might not fit into your model where it costs as much as doing those things. But the two strengths there are, free tier and engagement. Like Alex, you pointed out in the beginning, like it's important to be there from everybody's perspective. And also, Ivan, what you're saying about it being a good place for file sharing, it's totally recognizable, easy for people to deal with. And if you have your private or unlisted tracks, not private, I guess, at the free tier, but your unlisted tracks up there for sharing and sending people to your stuff, it's like a pretty robust player and works well for that. It's not like disco.ac, I think, that is specifically for that, like it's always going to be password or URL protected, and you'll get a lot more fine-grained control over who listens to your stuff, who listens to the link that you sent, stuff like that. But I'm still on the side of like free tier SoundCloud is a no-brainer. Paid, still tough to calculate as being worth it because their world isn't like the one where they give you the metrics to justify the expense. It's just they give you the features to buy it more. I hope that's clear. Like marketing world, they give you the metrics. Musician world, they just give you the features to pay.
Musician's world is paying me my fucking rent. I really wish, and if SoundCloud has this, please let me know. I really wish it would say there's a clear button, which I can't fucking find, that say you have this much money in the bank, here's how you can pull it out, or because you're paying X a month, I don't know, because like I thought, I didn't know SoundCloud was this much of an in-depth agitator, and that changes everything for me.
It's a fairly new service. You could have missed it. Like I think it's only gone online recently.
Because, when you say, like, I know the break even was like 20,000 plays a month or something on SoundCloud, or 10,000 or something for it to actually pay for the, although they when they first came out, they gave all of these numbers and everything else. And, if you get this much, you make this much money. But then, you're reading through Reddit and people are going, no, you're not. But anyway, look, I don't know. But nevertheless, looking into SoundCloud sounds like something we need to do to improve SoundCloud. And it is sounding very new, improved. Good on you, SoundCloud. It's really interesting how $30 a year, Ivan. You're paying $30 a year. That's not a month, that's a year. That's a year. $30 a year. Oh, shit. Wow, that's cheaper than DistroKid. Oh, shit. Do they take a cut? Or does it all come out of the, like, do you get 100% of the royalties, or does SoundCloud take a cut? Morning, Adam. Good to see you. And Alistair. And Adam. And Aaron. Anyway, let me know. Because $30 a year, you're keeping 80%. Okay, well, with something like DistroKid, I think it's like $70 a year. Excuse me, but you're keeping 100%. With something like AWOL, I think you keep 85% and it's free. But then again, there's a bunch of things that these places don't do that it sounds like SoundCloud does do. Anyway, thank you. I'm done talking about SoundCloud unless somebody wants to talk about SoundCloud. I really want to know if Alex still sounds like a chipmunk.
Do I still sound like a chipmunk?
Slightly.
Ah, damn.
No, you don't. I think you got it.
That's fixed. You're good.
So was there anything else we want to talk about
I think there's one thing to note for distro. Maybe everybody else has a different opinion, but I find the distribution features to be equal among all of them. Maybe some of them don't have quite like 1-day turnaround guaranteed pipelines to Apple, but they all go to the same important places. The only difference is how they balance the per release fee, annual fee, and percentage. And right now I'm on a I'm going to say 85% zero fee. I keep 85% and pay zero annual with
Who
the
you with?
option root note,
Okay.
ROUTE root note. So free, unlimited. They keep 15%. Seems like a pretty decent deal. And if your break even switches, you can just change tiers in the middle and pay the annual fee instead of the free tier. So they'll take 0% and take the fee instead. So it essentially caps the percentage if you think to switch.
Relevant point, Adam, and thank you very much, Resi. That's really good intel. Ivan, talk to me.
Yeah, the distribution, like getting it to the endpoints, is easy because those are essentially API calls. So like that is easy for everybody to be at the same level on.
What's an API?
The programming, like sending it across the wire.
Oh, right. Okay.
So like drop your song here, it's going to make an HTTP request to Apple and submit everything for you, and then it's done. That part is super easy. Like they've proven it. Everybody's doing the same thing in the back. But like, yeah, then the it all comes down to how they're planning to monetize you and what their policies are and what kind of relationships they have with those endpoints, because that will accelerate or decelerate how fast your music actually gets released. And
another thing as well is that the good thing I like about AWOL, which is now the fucking Orchard, the guy that started the Orchard actually wrote I Want Candy. There you go. The thing I like about AWOL is that everything is included. The thing I don't like about DistroKid is that if you want special XYZ or bloody fucking Shazam, whatever, it's extra. And it's like, fuckity fuck. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Yeah, okay, this is good. Thank you, Razi. This is all bloody things. I'm going to put this down here.
I refer back to Ari's take a lot for that comparison grid. It's getting a little bit old now, being a couple of years out of date, but it gives you the general parameters and a lot of comparisons.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I got a feeling there's a slight delay going on with fucking Magic Upload Internet World. I think it's March 16, 2024 there. It's 1973 here. Things are great. Does anybody want to talk about anything else besides this new disco sound and Fled Trousers? I thought that was funny. We can keep talking about this. Very exciting admin. It's my fault. I always talk about admin stuff, and it's just, Jesus, Carl, shut up. I was telling someone recently, they said, what are you doing? And I went, yes, Adam, I know you love disco, and you're the disco king. Did I tell you I'm working? Yeah, I probably did. A friend of mine said, what do you do? Because every time they say, what are you doing? And I say, admin. And then they finally said, what does that involve for a musician? And it was like, to even describe it hurts. Like it's really boring, arduous shit that you've got to fucking do. I had another conversation with somebody saying how the difference between an artist who's a professional, you might not like this, and an artist who is not, like, forward thinking and professionally orientated, is their ability to hunker down and do the admin. That's going to start a fight. And I cower into my corner. Admin totally sucks. But you got to do it.
I'll back you on that one.
Thank you. I thought I was going to get hit by a machete or something just then because do we? Yeah, and machete sucks. I mean, admin sucks. Although I'd probably rather a machete. Do we want to talk about something else exciting and fantastic here in 1973?
Hell, I've been mostly learning today.
What have you been doing? Listening.
Learning.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool. The other real massive pain in the dick is how if you leave an agitator, then I don't know how that works. Like I'm going to be paying fucking DistroKid until I die. I think that's how that works. And if you go on to another agitator, then there's a separation thing you have to go through. And then all of those files that were logged to DistroKid get handed back to you, and then you re-upload them. So if they were on a playlist, they suddenly disappear and people have to rediscover them. Yeah. Razeil.
I'm going to try it. I don't know if it's going to be middle of the year, but I am going to try moving one just to have done it, I think, because allegedly if your ISRCs match, doesn't matter who the distro is. And
really?
This is alleged. I don't know if this in practice you may get screwed up. I think I've read stories about it getting screwed up, but definitely the party line is you can change distributors. ISRCs stay the same. They don't re-upload the files. They don't send new artwork. It just becomes maintained through the new distro. Let's find out someday. It's on the back burner. I'm going to move one small EP, not a full album, not just a single, but I'm going to do it sometime. I'll have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's really fucking interesting. Because that's one good thing about, I don't know. I just don't feel like paying fucking X dollars a year for the rest of my life. And
that is very, I absolutely agree with that. And that's what's kept me away from DistroKid and places that charge an annual fee. One-time fee is steep at CD Baby, but that's what I went with on the first couple albums, because one fee and you're done and you know what it is. And it's not a lifetime of now I'm selling 0 of these and still paying the same annual fee. Anyway, that's the same motivation for me.
Adam, yes, you do. Adam Bomb, yes, you do have to keep paying DistroKid, to my understanding, because they're paying you, and the minute you cancel your subscription, they stop paying you. So you have to cancel your subscription, or you have to move everything onto another agitator, and then and the whole issue there is, yeah, what we just talked about. Okay, this is getting borderline depressing. Do we want to talk about something fun? Oh, here's Brett.
I was just going to say, so I am paying I'm using DistroKid, but the way I ended up getting it came with additional benefits, so that's one thing. And I know we were teasing on FL Studio earlier, but that's one of the things that they recently added was a cloud service behind it. Now, yeah, you do end up paying, DistroKid's fees, and everything said here about that is, from what I'm seeing, is correct still. But the other part about it is tying it in with loops and weird sound effects and things like that. Basically, a constantly growing sample library, which has made the pill of a fee. I'm paying yearly, but it is a monthly fee. Easier to swallow, and certainly has added different directions to what I'm creating. And so I think the point to that is we're going to see more and more of these subscription things to do what we want to do. And it's going to go kind of the cable TV model, where you buy into the thing you want to use for a period of time. Software as a service is an example of that. And you're seeing AIs and AI generated dolls and things like that, and those are going to be, if you want that power, you're gonna rent those machines, at least for the next phase of this.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I have this really weird feeling that things are about to change. Like, I just have this feeling. I mean, like, shit's always changing, but I just got a feeling that there's going to be a change. It could be partly a good change, partly a shit change, partly a whatever change. But I just have a feeling that there is going to be a change in the way stuff happens. There's going to be a change in the model. It's fascinating. Alex, I see your hand. Give me a second, Raining. It's really fascinating how so many of these things are taken from the concept of a label. But not many of them, except from what you're telling me about SoundCloud, it sounds like it's been designed from the perspective of a musician or a DJ. And that's really powerful because there's all this shit that musicians just don't fucking get, they don't care about, they don't want to know about. I don't know, rant. Alex, talk to me.
I would have two open discussion topics if you're interested. One would be about creativity in general, and the other one about maybe workflows.
I love the creativity in general. Bring it, baby.
So usually TikTok isn't like the best place to be, but I've seen like a comment thread that I really liked, and one commenter said, I think it's ultimately much easier to chase perfection than to face what you actually want to say. And that really resonated with me because I always overthink the details. And I think this commenter could be exactly right, at least in my case, that I just seek perfection because I'm too afraid about what my actual message would be.
Wow. Yeah, that's confronting. I feel that pain. Does anybody want to jump in on that? And about how Ivan, go.
Alex, that comment makes me feel seen. I get it. Yeah, no, and they're not wrong. I don't think they're wrong at all. Like it's way too easy to chase what you think is the perfect message or the perfect sound or the perfect beat. But like maybe we need to confront our fears and which is super uncomfortable. It's supposed to be because I will always point this out. This is something I learned while I was living in Boston. All the great rewards are just outside your comfort zone. And like I need to be okay with applying that to right here and now, not just like turning that into just a little phrase that I like to throw at people. Like you got to live that. And my favorite philosopher would be completely on board with this. So why shouldn't I?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I just ask that you say that quote, all of the rewards are just outside your comfort zone, in a Boston accent?
Oh, I don't think I can. Raz.
It's missing the correct words to make it truly Bostonian. It doesn't have sounds.
Can you convert it into Bostonian for us, please?
Can you type it up for me and I'll practice?
Oh my God! Dunkin' Donuts.
Give me a script.
Are you going to write it in ancient Bostonian script?
Send it to my agent. They'll get it through my girl who edits that stuff, and I'll.
It's funny when you talk about this. I have an image of you with a hat and a whip, and a John Williams soundtrack going da 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 with a brush, over a massive. Plate of sandstone covered in tea leaves, and you're wiping them off.
That's beautiful.
Like that, with your hat. And then there's snakes, and you go, snakes, why does it always have to be snakes? Okay. So we're going to get that ancient Bostonian translation. While we're doing it, Brett, what do you got?
First of all, remind me never to check your browser history. I thought the quote there that Alex provided was pretty on point, and I think it's actually been a common theme throughout Art of Rock where one or more of us have been battling with a song we're working on, only to hate it initially and then polish it into a loving turd.
Thank you. And thank you to Adam Bomb, who did a beautiful ancient Bostonian script translation on that. No, that was actually Adam, Resi. That was legit Adam. And yeah, man, for sure. It's really interesting how perfection is a great procrastinating thing. And we've said here so often, and the quotes come up where done is better than perfect. And it's just fascinating how it's funny, man. The more gear you have, the more synthesizers you have. I feel like you're locked into. I feel at least that I am locked into this quest for perfection, and also this quest that I have to use that gear. And I've got, like, once again, here we are, warning, EMAX rant. Why I fucking love the EMAX is that it doesn't do that shit. It doesn't do anything. In fact, every single thing you put into the EMAX, the way I put it in, it sounds like 1991, maybe even 1989. And it's why I love it. And this track I'm still working on now. It's like, it's such sonic paste with razor blades in it, and brimstone, that you can't be perfect. You've got to, yeah, it's a really good thing. It's just become this go-to, and I tried really hard to I just hijacked this and made it about samplers and EMAXs, which is what I do. But yeah, it's I don't know how you stop that spiral. Like it's playing on your brain. The ADD, whatever part of your brain, just goes, I have to fucking jigga. I have to seek this perfection. Alex, help me.
I think your EMAX is my Octatrack because it has a relatively simple structure. And because you only have 8, and if you use the master tracks, 7 tracks, and you need to really think about what you can do, but in this limitation, you can do many, many things. So I prefer to being in the door with its multiple possibilities, but I think like these limitations keep me grounded. And I think maybe for myself, the remedy would to accept that my execution is in some ways flawed or not what I thought it would be, and just accept it and let it free. It's hard. I haven't done it, but I think that would be the thing to do.
That's really interesting, man. And it's really bold that like the sound that you want is different to the sound that you are. And just somehow finding the confidence of feeling your way, the risk of feeling your way through the dark of who you are and what your sound is. Isn't it crazy saying that? You don't know what your sound is. I want to sound like this, but you don't, and you keep pushing it to sound like that band that you want to sound like, and increasingly you fail and you break it. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. And then the other question is, how do you know when you're finding your true sound? Disney needs to do a thing like this. How do you find your one true sound? And you are woken up from your slumber with a kiss from the prince or princess or non-gender specific royalty of your one true sound. Rezi, you can do it as long as you give us that translation in Bostonian.
I still can't. I really need to prepare for that. Well, maybe I don't. Maybe I just sound that way anyway in everything I say.
No, you don't. You sound very eloquent.
Thanks, man. I worked hard not to sound like I'm from Hingham or Dedham. I wanted to probe a bit on the finding your sound in bands with a sound, and what's the width of a sound? What is the breadth of a career spanning favorite band that you followed and never fell off? And is their sound from 1989 the same sound that they have in 2024? or what's the kernel of that identity? And that's their voice. But I like, you know, there's room there to change and grow and evolve your sound and not stick to one. And on that journey is where the fun of exploration can be. And I think that's probably commercial suicide also for most people, is to change so much that you're not recognizable. But I guess, I don't know, the Frontline Assembly and Delirium come to mind as just splitting it into separate projects and just doing your thing, since that topic, you know, is fresh on our chat in here. Those two things are kind of different, though. It's like your urge to find an identity and voice might be the same thing as your urge to explore music in general, you know, and to inhabit different musical characters and styles and stuff. But like, what does that do commercially? What does it do artistically is really where some of the question is. And I'm trying to think through like which bands I've loved all along through their careers that have maintained a sound, a voice that would be recognizable to somebody who wasn't following the whole time, the continuity. And I'm not sure where it lands.
This is fantastic. Thank you for this. Brett, I want to hear your thoughts.
So I think it's answerable a couple different ways. So from my point of view as an artist, each song has a sound. And you know, each song is trying to tell its story. But if I listen to like my stuff over time, I realize that it takes on a certain character. And I noticed that these things are similar about other artists as well. You're very much in that. You know, I can pick out a song written by you going years back, and it's like a fingerprint. Kevin Key's like that. For me, shoot, Velvet Acid Cry, Brian, I think his name is. Anyway, all these guys, and then you go back to even your classical musicians, and you know, Vivaldi has a sound, but it's more that sound is defined by by the palette he's using across a wide arc of songs and stories he's trying to tell.
I think you just illustrated something that, or it triggered a little bit in my thinking. The Velvet Acid Christ had like almost an acoustic sampled album, or he was playing acoustic guitar, and that was my point of entry to Brian's, I think, as you said, music. Yeah, and that's a tremendous difference of scope, but it was so him. Like, it was so identifiably, I don't know if it's like a SoCal attitude that he's got or something. There's a delivery and passion and sadness that was the voice of the music. Interesting.
You can do that with Tim Skold, Marilyn Manson, Ministry. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
you know, even going back to like using Ministry for that, you can go back all the way to Twitch and pick up those fingerprint items and the way they do those song structures.
Yeah, you could tell when the drugs switched.
Exactly. They got better.
Harder.
But yeah, I don't know. It's from I think a band's or an artist's sound is defined over time, and you know it's kind of that palette, like I said, that they're using across. You know.
Well, I would also cite the drug shift with the Beatles' career from "I Want to Hold Your Hand" to "Looking Through a Glass Onion" is
there you go.
The same. Go. Alex, I see your hand is up, and Carl, you're back, so I'm gonna shut up and give it back to you.
Yeah, I think, as you said, part of your sound will just be your taste and maybe habits you have in creating music, like what kind of synth sounds you tend to design. If you like Sawtooth or Square Wave better, stuff like that. For myself, I have had a problem. I'm still having the problem that I had an idea of what kind of music I want to make, and then it somehow got away. It disappeared. And I then started to just do a kind of design document where I just wrote down what kind of sound I want. And that's what I'm now trying to follow. And I also want to try to incorporate reference tracks into my sessions. I'm still thinking about the technical solution, but maybe it will just be another track in DAW, and that will be like maybe
I'm all for that.
Sophie, Autica, something like that.
Yes.
To just get the aesthetics of the sound right, not the composition, but how much
you're talking my language there. And the bottom 5 tracks of some of my last album songs are all reference tracks. They're always there. From the minute when I realized what song I was ripping off what part of, it lived in the bottom, end of the scroll down, and that's where the tracks are. And they're bussed like out a separate, technically speaking, out a separate pair, not the master bus, so that they don't get the 2-bus processing. And they're in the folder with the file structure. They become part of the project, and there's notes written on them about what element it is that I'm actually into about this thing, so I don't forget and start becoming derivative inadvertently, which may happen anyway. But I think that's extremely powerful. And also the other page of mine that we're on, the same of yours, I just wrote on my wall in 3 large pieces of paper and tore them up and placed them just so, and put thumbtacks through them, something into the effect of first set limits. First being the beginning of a project, beginning of a song, but there's a moment when you finish dicking around with your limitations and realize what they're going to be, and they can change and evolve. But if you put a thumbtack on the wall with it written in pen, you have some hope of holding on to it. But I love where you're going with that. Do you have any other technical ideas or directions that you're doing with the collection of tracks and references?
Not right now. I think I can maybe look at my design document what else I wrote, but
oh yeah, that right. But the design document actually piqued my interest too. That this is, are you being freeform with that, or is it something that you're doing specifics and details in? What's that like for you?
So let me look it up. So
I find this fascinating, and
genres that I want to be close to, like first line is similar to industrial techno, but with more variant patterns. Synthesizer sculptures, which is like a thing for me that it has like different kind of I don't know how to call it, but like different synth sounds that have different envelope shapes and such that are like sampled and placed within the track to form like a meta rhythm in a way. I mean, that maybe that only makes sense to me, but that's the thing. Then I have like several ideas I have for vocals. I'm not quite so sure about the words, but I just wrote everything down that came to mind. Sound aesthetic is another column. Slightly off, bright, clicky, aggressive, punchy, industrial, hall-ish, because I didn't want to write epic. Then ideas for what I want to do live, like all the instruments I want to have and how they're processed, and what I want to actually carry with me, if it ever comes to that. Traditional song structure is optional. Then I have some other column about the writing process, which is currently empty, and that is my design document. I want to put everything, put further things in, but that's everything that came to mind.
I love that so much. I think that's really terrific. And I wrote in the chat your own oblique strategies. Some of those terms are vague enough to be evocative and specific enough to get you going. Carl, are you ready to chime in and be
Thank
back?
you
It looks
so
like
much.
you're permanently here.
Thanks for covering me there, Razeil. I really appreciate it. Wow, Brett and Alex, I was listening. Fucking great shit. Thank you. I actually want to build my own oblique strategies, but it would be more, how last week, okay, funny thing is, last week I was talking about copying the bass line to copy the vocals, and I came up with that idea. That idea saved the song that I was working on. And it's stuff like that I want to put in. Anyway, I digress. So this is such an interesting thing. As an artist, you're on a journey. It's not a straight line, it's this wiggly line. And different people jump on that journey at different points. And where they jump on is what they define as your starting point, not theirs. So they think that's your original sound, and anything before that, that's their weird old obscure stuff. And anything after it, they don't like as much as when they jumped on the line. Mostly. People are going to disagree with me on this. What's the funny thing about it is that this line, it was going since you were born. You know, and you have to, as a human being and an artist, as a human being that is representing your life through your art, you must keep going on your line, wherever this strange line path thing takes you, and the musical reflection of that line. Then it gets into the whole thing about changing your sound, and that's another 3-year degree that I just don't want to get into right now. So you're always changing. And it's really interesting how it goes from punk to well-refined, usually to wank, to jazz, where you give yourself some wanky name like Sting and you're wearing a beret. And then when you're lost, your head is so far up your ass, you then try and yearn for those days of punk to try and find that again, and then the balance of it. And that's what's so, and I think that applies to life as well. You know, you go, I want my life to be this complicated structural thing and da-da-da-da-da, and you achieve that and you go, I fucking hate this. I want to go back to being a kid where I didn't give a shit. Your whole youthful life is striving to become an adult that builds these fantastic structures. And then once you've built those fucking structures and you're building them, you go, this fucking sucks. And you just want to find your youth again. That's why our society is plagued with sayings such as youth is wasted on the young. And the older you get, the more that fucking hurts. Because it really is. Anyway, so figuring out that, and the other thing about the structure of wank is that society, money, your fucked up brain is telling you that you need to find this structure, and you're obligated as an adult, as a mature musician, but partly also because of what happens if I factor. The smarter you get, the more knowledge you acquire, the better your production becomes, and the better your choices. Instead of just going E, B flat, you might start designing these massive Wagnerian chords that are going over that thing. And then it starts sounding jazz or whatever. My point is that the more you learn, the more you know, the more you understand that there are paths that you can take, and you start exploring those paths. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing depends on the path and depends on where you choose to go with it. And what you choose to do while you're there, Frodo Baggins. You like that? Yeah, that was my, I need a pipe and a hat now. Arr, young hobbits. So that's punk versus wank. Secondly, Angelspit's two big songs, I guess, are 100% or 100%. Never agreed on the title of that track. And Satanic Aesthetic. And it's interesting that 100% has something that a Satanic Aesthetic does not, and that is EMAX. 100% is predominantly, yeah, I know. I'm just talking about the EMAX again. 100% is predominantly K2000 and a bit of modular. And that's great. But Satanic Aesthetic is EMAX and modular and a lot of Moog. And that was a whole bunch of bullshit that I didn't need to say. I listen to those tracks and I go, do these sound like they are the same band? Personally, I don't think they do. Because so much has changed. Different vocalist, different production, different X, Y, fucking Z. Same mastering engineer, same guy who wrote it. But to me, they don't sound like the same band. Satanic Aesthetic, I was looking at it today, and it has vastly surpassed 100%. Vina Cava, all those classic Angelspit tracks. It is being added to playlists all the time. It is being discovered increasingly as Angelspit's entry point song, which is really weird for me, because to me that song doesn't sound like what I thought Angelspit was going to be or where it would go. And that song came about because I was experimenting, and it went way down the road of Wank, and then I went, fuck this, and I fucked it with a sledgehammer real fucking hard. And it's funny is that entire bass line was actually just going to be a fill, a 1-bar fill, that bow ba ba bow ba ba. It was just going to be a fill. Like since we're doing this big wanky thing, and the song just wasn't working for me. It's really funny. I get to this point in a song where it's like, I want this song to become as offensive as I can possibly make it. Not for you, but for me. I want to destroy something beautiful now that I have created because I fucking hate this thing and I want to pummel it. And that's how that came across. And I guess that happened because the path had led me to places of knowledge where I utilized the wank and I mixed it with punk rock, I guess. Can I do that again? Probably not. Well, probably, hopefully. It's really all about your mindset. You know, maybe that's the thing, is that the older you get and the more you become wanky and full of knowledge, the more you go, you know what, I can fuck this up in a new and different way. Or I can fuck this up in such a way that it's not actually being fucked up. You just think it's being fucked up. Getting that balance right and coming back to the whole concept that you've got perfect and you've got good enough, and then you've got perfect, and then you've got perfectly good enough. Well, we all seem to be settling for good enough, perfect. What you want is perfectly good enough. And that's something that happens in your brain. Wow, this rant's going nowhere. I'm binging Adam Savage build videos right now, and I've got to figure out how I can do this with music because it's so fucking good. And he was talking about one of his favorite tools, which is a Dremel or something. And he was saying how this one specific tool he has, which was really expensive, is one of the few tools that give back. That if you throw something, like you throw your ideas and it will help your ideas become reality. Or was it his vacuum thing, vac former? I can't remember what it was, but he was saying how that this tool gave back. That you'd throw an idea at it like a person, and it would throw your idea plus something back to it. And then immediately I was thinking about how synthesizers that are attractive to me, yes, the fucking EMAX times 10. You throw an idea at it, it does something to it, and it throws it back at you. And if the yield is 100% or 100%, then what you put out is what it takes in, as opposed, you know how sometimes you throw a bass line in a synth and it doesn't sound as cool as you thought it would sound? Or the synth doesn't have the ability, or you don't at least know the ability to fuck it so it can do something. The Moog, the Mini Moog, Voyager, perfect example. You throw a bass line at that thing and it destroys it. The EMAX, absolutely. Modular synths, yeah. K2000 for sure. And it's just really interesting how, and maybe that's why the DX7 not so much. The Rev 2, yeah. But it's really interesting how that there are some synths that, and this has got everything to do with the knowledge wank thing versus punk when it comes to sound design. Because if you've got a bass line, like if you break down Satanic Aesthetic, it's like, it's not even the do run run run. It's like not even that smart. It's just bum 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 bum. Fuck off. But it's because of the sounds that are going on in there, and because of all the interplay and everything else, it works. Bottom line is fuck around more and listen to the Do Run Run. It's a good song. Somebody, Ivan, I see your hand. I did this, I was sound teching this lecture at LA Opera, and the lecturer said, is it Beethoven's 7th or the 9th? The 9th, second movement. Dung, 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 da 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 da. I'm gonna start crying. It's incredible. Fucker called it the Do Run Run. Fuck you. Like the chords of that song are, you know what? I don't really know if I believe in God or not, but listen to that fucking piece of music. It's ordained holiness. And he called it the Do Run Run. Jesus, motherfucker, you do that. One fucking note. Like, that was the one note samba of the fucking 1800s, 1700s, 1800s. Brilliant. Show-stoppingly brilliant, inspiring piece of fucking music. Planets get born to that one. Jesus. Go listen to it. Great track. Wow, that was a rant. I got all passionate. Passionate about Beethoven. Also, one of these days, I'm going to break into LA Opera because they've got these fantastic busts, and I'm going to put a Ziggy Thunderbolt on Beethoven's face. He'd want that. No, he wouldn't. He was a grumpy cunt. Mozart would want that. Ivan, give me it.
Mozart would have loved that. You know, the EMAX, I've been noticing a thing. The stuff that I've written that gets like the most plays by people was one thing in common. Baseline on an EMAX.
When did you have an EMAX?
It's the emulator too, VST.
Oh, right.
Like every time I freaking use that, I somehow write something amazing, or people want to listen to it. I find myself thinking I need to lean into that, because if I'm good at using it, maybe I should just accept who I am.
Dude, it's the ninth second movement of synthesis. Really is. I've picked so many fights about EMAXs. It's great, and I always win. Always win. Like, look at what the Emulator 2 did to Depeche Mode. Look at it. That was an Emulator 2 that made them the greatest band on earth. You're welcome. I'm now on one of my stupid rants. Does anybody want to rescue me right now? Jump in on a stupid rant, and we don't talk about gear porn. Alex, you said you had a part B. Oh.
Yeah,
Alex, the floor is yours.
It is half gear porn. I'm sorry, but it's maybe.
Does that mean it's scantily clad?
No, it's anti. Sorry, my English is all over the place today. It's anti-gas gear porn because I really got into Ableton. I'm trying to learn it right now, but I want to keep my hardware workflow, and so I was thinking about just sequencing it like it was a sound module, and maybe this can spark another discussion, but it has also maybe some great ways to control things via MIDI. So yeah, maybe if somebody has any ideas what I can try, or maybe other ideas that spark from that, because that is like one of my next projects that are more experimental.
Oh my God, hold on, I see hands starting to pop up. Now, so can I just ask you to clarify, you're using Ableton virtual instruments, or you're controlling the Octa thing via Ableton?
I'm using the Octatrack to sequence the virtual instruments in Ableton.
And you're not using Ableton to
sequence.
You're not using Ableton to sequence.
Yes, it's just as if I was playing a big MIDI keyboard with multiple fingers and channels and stuff.
All right, this is great. Thank you, Ivan. Tell me.
There's no reason not to use Ableton like that. Unless you're loading up with latency somehow, which you're probably not. Yeah, it's a completely acceptable use for Ableton. They call it live for a reason. And like the good news is you can record those sequences as you play. So you're playing it in, you're recording it. Now you can keep it and play it back, and then mix and match tracks until you're happy. And even go in and edit them by hand and make them just that little bit better, maybe not. There are plenty of times where I've tried that and it's turned out to be not. But it's a completely great strategy. And even better, once you've got the MIDI recorded, you can ship that off to something else. See what happens. Also, like Ableton, are you on 12? Okay, I mean, good thing is like 12 is now coming with all of those extra MIDI tools. So, you can do transforms and stuff with Ableton. You can play in, do your transforms with Ableton, and then ship it off to an instrument, which is great. Going to make your life better and easier.
Love it. Thank you so much. Razzie, hit me with your brain.
Alex, I have two questions, I think. I'm curious about where you're going with this. Do you have, when you say learning Ableton, learning about the synths and tone sources in it, or learning about the routing? Okay. And then
basically everything, because I've only used it as a scratch pad previously, but now I want to use it as my main DAW.
Okay.
So I need to look up what things do and how to do things most properly.
But if you're drawing a line at using it as a tone module and using an external sequencer, there is a lot you can ignore on that screen. And, making your mixer fill the screen, and the, the bottom row is still the small area where your tone modules are going to be held. Some of them expand to the middle area now, so you get a little bit more layout area, but it's a little bit limiting in that way. But if you're hosting other third-party VSTs and they all have the full UIs and stuff, and you're just using it as your full-fledged mixer VST instrument host effects thing, and all the MIDI is just coming from one other device, it's an interesting proposition. And then the question turns to, do you have designs on or ideas for your template, like the thing that it powers up with these synths and this routing and these effects? Are you there yet?
I will probably have 8 channels because I have 8 MIDI tracks on the Octatrack. I'm still thinking about whether I should clock the Octatrack from Ableton or use the Octatrack clock. I think I should use the Octatrack clock.
Yeah.
Clock Ableton, but maybe that's worth an experiment.
No, if your hands are on the Octatrack, definitely clock it that way, just to start with. You can always change your approach later, but yeah. Okay, I get where you're going with it. I think it's a cool limitation. I think it's really interesting. And if you've got those 8 tone sources and maybe 5 effects or whatever to throw to, you've got a whole little rig that you just run to and it makes the sounds you want. The next frontier is probably, maybe tell me if you've gotten into this. Octatrack has control information and parameter locking and stuff, as I understand it. I don't know much about it, but are you sending knobs and control information as your performance thing from the Octatrack?
Yes, I'm sending MIDI CCs to control the. I don't know how it goes with turning that then into what's it called? Not modulation, but like
envelopes and automation are the two ways Ableton refers to it. Yeah,
and have that recorded. So I need to check that out, but I know how it works in Cubase, so it should be probably similar.
It is and it isn't. The main ways that Ableton exposes that are going to be pretty easy to get at. You can either set macros up to receive it at the top of the chain so that you actually have one knob per knob on your thing, so it maps to something and those controls get written, or you can record the CC information directly. There's a lot of ways of approaching that, and I'd be interested to know where you end up with it. But for the most flexibility, 12 at least now allows you to choose MIDI controller selections to send, so you can round trip it if you're going back out. I don't know if that's part of your thing. It just came to mind. But this is if I was doing this, I'd be spending a lot of time getting my template set up so that the startup, default program has the 8 synths that I expect to use and, is mapped and ready to go. And then lastly, do you also control outboard gear other than the Octatrack?
Right now, that's not the idea, but maybe in
Octatrack,
just
Ableton tone
I want to
sources.
try, because I really love the sound sources, but I don't like too much mouse movement, and especially editing MIDI is something I don't really like about Ableton. Maybe has gotten better in 12, but I think that's like...
It depends so much what you got used to start with for 10 years or 5 years or even a year. Like, it really changes things.
Right.
I think that's super. And maybe you can just keep us updated on how that goes, whether you end up with a template that what synths you choose and which ones have tone sources. But they all, if you haven't gotten to it yet, maybe you already have, choosing whether they're just the instrument as a synth or the instrument as a synth in a drum rack on a pad, so it does, one shots, or a group of them with key mappings and stuff. So you've got many FM synths on drum pads to do your percussion. There's so much flexibility and choice in there that you can get really lost with it. I think, again, if I was doing this, I would start out with like a drum dedicated channel, and the rest of them is just like analog, FM, the modeling synth, and maybe drift, and the new meld synth, like just to have them all at the ready, but with like cool patches already set up in them, and then save that as my default program. This is fun. I like thinking through it. I hope that we're not just echoing all of the things you've already done or where you're going, but that's super cool.
Thank you. Isn't it amazing how these synthesizers have got an architecture that supports so many different types of workflows? Like, and isn't it interesting how, like, I was thinking, if somebody came along and said, okay, I want to make music, which is all the time, and they sat down with me for a day, and they'd go, oh, that's interesting, but then they sat down with, you, Razeil, for a day, or Ivan, or Brett, or Alex for a day, the approach to music would be so vastly different. And it would be, I just think it's so inspiring to me to go, wow, fuck, man, you're doing it like that. I was just looking at the Octatrack. It's such a good synth. That thing's a baller. My question, Alex, I am projecting onto you now. I don't know what that means. I just learnt it in therapy, so I thought I have to use that this week. Projecting onto you. Do you use a lot of continuous controllers? For example, controller whatever controls the filter open and close. Do you use many of them, Alex?
If I'm having my hardware set up, I do that all the time. Like, I use the MIDI CC from the Octatrack to control the filter cutoff of the Blofeld and stuff like that, because you can get so much more out of your synth if you just crazily control stuff. And the Octatrack also has like stuff like MIDI LFOs. The only thing you need to watch out for is that the clock can get more jittery if you send too many MIDI CCs. So that's something you should keep in mind. But yeah, I use that all the time, and I came to that idea because I sequenced iPad apps with the Octatrack previously, and that worked great. So I thought maybe I just try the whole DAW, because why not? It's basically, it's basically like a big iPad app. And another funny thing is that my original workflow of sequencing hardware synths from the DAW, I got from one of your first Libwords.
Oh, cool. Awesome, man. I'm honored. Thank you. Okay, groovy. Yeah, it's fascinating when you've got a synth and you don't know what you're doing with that synth anymore. I'm sorry, I'm kind of pulling away from the original topic here a bit. Learn about its controllers and learn about what you can do to that sound, and also the performance of the sound specifically, not just filter, but also the portamento and the portamento time and all of that stuff, and then detuning oscillators. Like, you might have this bass line that in the last bit, oscillator number 2 plays a fifth. Even better, you might be able to turn the sync on and off, and then you turn the sync on and off, which you can do on the Moog. And it's so fucking amazing when you start two sounds are synced together and you start throwing them out of pitch a little tiny bit. Oh, it's gorgeous. And just finding synths that can do that sort of thing is great fun. Alex, I see your hand.
Yeah, and even if your synthesizer doesn't have tons of MIDI CCs, even with just pitch bend and modulation and aftertouch, you can do so much. Like the Korg 01W doesn't have many CCs, but you can do so much with just pitch bend and modulation.
One thing about that era of synths is you couldn't do anything to them. Like you couldn't really get in there and fuck them up, which sort of boned me a bit. Everything like 88 to early 90s, except the K2000 and the EMAX. And that you can do a whole bunch of controllers on the EMAX, by the way. It's a trick. Not many people know it. Actually, you can only do 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's pretty good. Razeil, talk to me.
This totally got me psyched thinking it through. Like if I happen to have a controller with 8 knobs on it in front of me, I'd be inspired to set up or however many knobs it actually has. I'd have each channel, I would spend the time to go into macros, map them to useful parameters, not just filter and, decay or whatever, but find some like oscillator phase or invert dynamics mapping to do with, and make sure I had all of the knobs mapped and labeled properly on the macros so that when I choose that synth, I can see what it's going to do, but spend the time making sure that all of the physical knobs that I have, since I'm using this one controller all the time, I'm used to it. I can expect that these knobs are going to do something. Give them something to do on each of those synths and each channel so that they all have, maybe it's uniform so that there's always oscillator detune and filter sweep on the first 2 knobs, but then these other 4 are the grab bag of interesting other things that that are unique to each synthesizer that I've chosen on the 8 tracks. The octa refers to the 8 sort of monophonic lines that you have going at once, I assume.
Yes, you can sequence polyphonic MIDI, but it has to be like one block of chords.
Yeah, it's essentially that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. But the little hinge there was spending the time to have something mapped for all the control knobs that are in front of me on every track that I select as I'm going through the thing. It's kind of cool. Awesome.
I want to keep this going. Hey, by the way, if you're watching this on Twitter X, can you say something in the comments or something, or like it or something? Because I have a theory that there's a whole bunch of robots watching this on Twitter right now, and they're not real people. If they're real people, I'm going to send you love. Not a poo in a bag, but love. I don't know what that means or what that looks like. So click I like this or something, so I know you're actually there, because fuck the world. Is there anything else that we want to touch on? And do we want to keep talking about this? There's been some really fascinating stuff right now. Razeil, go.
Also on the effects channels, you need to somehow have the automation, the knob controller knobs work for your effects throws to your return tracks. And then on the return tracks themselves, the parameters have to be mapped to like reverb time and room size and delay filter and all that stuff. So those need to have automation recorded also.
Totally. Totally. I got to tell you, man, when you start automating effects, you start going into crazy land. It's fantastic, the shit you can make. I should do that, actually. You start going into crazy land, and crazy land is a good place to be.
I'm just sick of drawing those things in and knowing, okay, this is going to happen on beat 4.
Yeah.
That was inspired.
Yeah.
It worked, but...
well, that's also a really fun thing about, like, setting up like either a modular synth or a virtual modular synth, is that you have a randomizer. Ivan, I swear to God, if you're on reverb right now, if you set up a modular synth that's like opening and closing or changing the reverb amounts of a sound, and also the volume, and also the wet dry. Well, the reverb amount and the wet dry amount. Maybe just the wet dry amount. So sometimes you can just get the sound and it's right in front of your face and it's dry, and then on other times you can just push it back into a big hall and just let it fill back there, and then it moves around and shit like that. Endlessly fun. Or maybe that's just me. It's something about MIDI I fucking hate. It's like so controlled. But there's all these doodads nowadays that let you uncontrol it or control it in a randomized way. I have this fucking, I need chocolate right now. Does anybody else want to talk about something amazing from their face right now? Maybe anyone? And I'm pretty damn sure that everybody watching on Twitch is in fact a robot. Twitter. Thank you. No offense, people watching on Twitch. What am I saying? I'm an evil man. Somebody tell me something amazing. Go.
Something amazing.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks so much. That was actually clearly qualified as a dad joke. Just letting you know.
This maybe too specific to be an inspired topic of discussion, but I think more and more creativity is being poured into finding ways to make videos on a zero budget where the people aren't in the same space and aren't going to be, because the zero budget includes transportation and stuff. Creative, interesting ways to make a good production entertainment value video featuring more than one person that will not ever be in the same space. What do you do? Well, how does that work? What's dumb looking? What's cool? What's interesting? What's a interesting innovation for doing match cuts across the edits or continuity visual effects between two places? Does that inspire any thought? Because I can't think of a lot of stuff on it.
I love that. Brett, I see your hand. Let's talk about this. Go.
One thing that you might could look at is what is the perspective of them looking at their phones and having that conversation. It gives you a reason to have distance, as an example.
I love it. Something else you could do is you could have a conversation with somebody who's inside the house and they are talking to the person who on camera appears to be 6 foot away from them outside the house. And it's cut. And then they might do something like hand the person something. And then the next one, you see the shot of them getting that thing in their hand or something. Or they're jumping through time portals. Time portals work. Trust me, they work, and they're surprisingly easy to animate. Oh my God. Or they're passing something. They're obviously shot in different locations, but they're passing something like a ball or a thing. And each time they put something into that thing and it gets to the person at the end and they build something and it explodes.
That's kind of your go-to, the build something and explode elements.
Yes, great, man.
Subtly familiar. The action across so that there's a screen direction of something occurring and then the receipt of it is super popular and fun. And I just saw a promo from The Daily Show where they used that exact gag, and they were doing it with throwing the thing up and the person catches it from the bottom and throwing it to the left and handing it gently, and they did continuity matches of the action on all of those, and that's sort of what reminded me to be thinking about it. I just saw that right before we got on the call.
I have an idea for a video that I want to do. I have no idea how to shoot it. It's stupid, but it doesn't blow up. But it's that idea, and something similar. But yeah, it's interesting. How do you make a video, creative, smart video with, Even more fun is how do you do a video where you put yourself into a different environment every few shots, and that's a really good excuse to get the fuck out of the house, which we all kind of need. Any other ideas for this? I love it.
One just came to mind, and there's something. This is like some really strong visual element that's in both shots but doesn't match. Like there's a large 45-degree angle color change in the building next to the person, and you find something similar to that in the other city, and you both shoot your scenes with that, and you can cut back and forth between it. Or there's an extremely contrasting element where you both find a black wall and a white wall to do your performance or actions in front of, and you can cut between those. There's even just the screen direction of gaze, changing your position of your eyes, and editing against that. The in the edit can become meaningful and strange. There's some other, keep going.
I love it. There's a great big pink wall in LA on Melrose Place, and it's a really good pink too. And there's a lot of photos taken in front of that one. Yeah, I love this. But I've always wondered, how do you do something like that when the only thing you've got to shoot against is a wall that you've cleared in your house that's like basically the size of a door? Shoot.
My last solution for this, I don't think it's going to go anywhere in the future, is enough light on the back wall so that you can blow it out and not have detail. And finding a white wall isn't that tough. Getting distance from it so you're not casting shadows on it is a little more complicated. But if you can get 4 feet from a wall and get your normal lighting and then blast enough onto the back wall that it's a little bit hotter than any part of your face, you can easily, without using chroma key or rotoscoping out the person or background removal, you can get that to match anything. And then you can extend it out in Photoshop or After Effects or whatever you're using, because it's just plain white, no details. So there's a lot you can do. The same kind of goes for black, of course. Like any pure below video black and above video white colors make it real easy to approach that. The problem with white is it tends to erode the borders of you and your hair and garments and stuff. And the problem with black is that it's real easy to shine a light onto a thing and it's no longer black. But yeah.
Interesting.
Possibilities.
I love it. Thank you. Brett, talk to me.
So I had one more idea for Rezi as well, and that was also what if it was from the perspective of a fly or an insect, where the change of perspective was like you would look at something like the tree or surrounding landscape around the person that they just visited and then go somewhere else. In terms of the wall, the first thing that came to mind there was to use some sort of sheet and contrasting paint being thrown against it, or contrasting colors, and kind of the Rorschach in a way.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Alex.
So one idea that came to mind for me is to have the one person be in a hole or well or cave and the other person outside. So you could have like a black space and then just one big light source.
Absolutely.
It works for your story, but that's what I thought about it.
I love it. And Alex, by the way, you've got a fantastic angle. The stairwell behind you, the angle of the stairwell is just really lovely. I've always loved that.
It's actually a roof.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. Ivan, hit me.
There is definitely something to be said for liminal spaces, because
what's a liminal space?
They look like those in between spaces technically, but you can go to a shopping mall in any city and it's going to look like a shopping mall in any city. Like you can quickly lose track of your geography because everything's so the same. Airport's another great example of a place that you go airport to airport and you might not be able to tell which airport you're at. Any freaking like long office, like multi-tenant office building has the same problem where, you could be in LA, you could be in New York, you could be in Berlin, you could be, in Cudahy, and they all look kind of the same. Parking structures, same deal. Like, very easy to mask whether, where you are and whether or not people are in the same place, because it has this nasty habit of looking the same. Back like my first semester at university, I met somebody who was working on like a sci-fi novel based on the idea that people were going to places like they were at the airport, and then they suddenly found out that they were not at the airport they thought they were at. They're somewhere else on the globe, because it's so easy to mix up where you are when everything just kind of looks the same.
I love it. And I love this backrooms thing he just sent, Brent. This is great. That's actually, possibly a really funny, hold on, I just want to put this in the chat. That's a really funny video you could do, is you could go to an airport, shoot yourself. I'm sorry, video yourself.
We just got on a list.
Just to say it out loud.
Yeah. We did. Video yourself and then move to another gate, which is like just across there. And then under that gate, you write Berlin. And then you go to another one, you write Tokyo.
Animated travel maps between them with a spinning globe.
with a dotted line, like Indiana Jones. Everything goes back to Indiana Jones. Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
I have a strong affection for the compositing the full height human head to toe thing into a small space of the not quite the liminal classic beige spaces, but the ambiguous depth, very vast looking computer generated areas with some pools of light from distances, and maybe a couple of orbs. Throw a couple of rough orbs in while you're at it. And I've had that sort of on the back burner for a long time as a treatment, but nothing to really apply it to. But the liminal spaces would also be a super, like, really normcore khaki attire.
Wait, normcore is a thing?
Yeah, man. I mean, I didn't just make it up. It's culturally, yeah. But just the lost in transitory spaces with no purpose thing is a really effective.
Firstly, classic beige space is a great name for a band. Secondly, can you give me an example of a normcore band besides Nickelback?
I think it's a fashion statement, not a.
It's more aesthetic.
Probably, yeah. It's probably like an offset of twee when you run out of sweaters and stuff, and you have to just put on like an Oxford shirt of some sort, like a light blue, but you're really
cornflower blue.
There you go.
Because it's casual dress day at the office.
Apparently, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I hope I can dig a deep enough pit to pull off Alex's treatment sometime too, but practical. Do it for me.
All this talk of, anyway, this is great. Something I've always wanted to do is like have a weekend fucking thing where it's like, I've told you this, like go somewhere with a group of friends and every one of them has to shoot a video. No one has a fucking clue. And we're going to drive for 4 hours and we're going to brainstorm video ideas for each person's song. Then we're going to get there and we are going to make these fucking videos happen. And then each person has to edit their own fucking videos.
Yeah, I absolutely want to go to Salton Sea.
Wow.
What's Salton Sea? Oh, yes! Near LA.
Yeah, but like we need to bring somebody along with an FAA license and a drone.
Part 107, baby.
What's Art 107?
It's when you can do it for commercial purposes, fly your shit around.
All right.
They view pretty much anything as commercial, so
I'll share my Salton Sea photos after. I have a lot of footage from there. But Carl, the part of the world that you live in lends itself to that kind of thinking. You can drive a couple hours and get to mind-shatteringly desolate spaces and geology, rocks and sand stuff We can get to the forest out here, maybe find a quarry, but the quarry's got graffiti all over it, and the forest there's a highway running through it, so it's not the same kind of aesthetic. But yeah, when we do our whatever Dogma 2025, I'm there for that kind of filmmaking idea. I think those are the kinds of restraints that I was referring to earlier. You make a set of rules and stick to it, and then execute the project on a date. I go out that way I think about going out that way all the time, and go out once in a while, just, taking photos and hoping to shoot a video. And I often fail to shoot the video because I'm just, out there enjoying the isolation and stuff, but that's a different story.
I love it. Okay. Salton Sea, gotta go. This has been excellent. We've got about 15 minutes or so left. Does anybody want to bring up anything or continue this amazing conversation? Or should we rate to MTV TV? Yes. Okay. Looks like we're going to rate, and we're going to hang back here and have a chat, because chatting is good. As usual, here every Saturday, which I believe is now 5 o'clock Berlin time. Sorry, Alex. It is 5 o'clock Berlin time, right? Yeah, cool. 9 o'clock LA time and 12 o'clock Boston time. Art of Rock, it's here. Hey, if you've got $3 a month and you want to throw it my way, Angelspit's Patreon. Yes. Do it. And Ice Planet 9000, you get it. Because Angelspit people get a free fucking copy. But right now, Diana, are you ready? We're rating to MTV TV. So if you're watching this on anything else, just click the Carl. You're an idiot because I just put all of those things in the wrong thing. Thanks for telling me, guys. Like I said, Art of Rock is here. I'm doing all this again because I just don't care. I suck. I suck. That's Art of Rock. This is Angelspit's Patreon. Just do it. Right now, it's MTV TV. That's where we're going. Diana, rate us, baby. Rate us. And if you're watching on something that isn't bloody Twitch, then that's how it works. Hey, let me know when it's rated. There's the link. Go watch it on Twitch. We're going in now. And I'm going to close today's show with a very important word. So we're still waiting on that raid. We're waiting on the raid. We're waiting on the raid, waiting on the raid, waiting on the wait. Rating on the wait, rating on the wait. That's the greatest song ever written, right? Somebody?
It's up there. I mean,
Whoop, whoop.
competition with Stairway to Heaven, but
I think
Fuck
the
Stairway to Heaven.
chat rated, but we're still streaming somehow.
Okay, I know, it's just too complicated. Everybody on fucking Instagram, see ya. Everybody else all over the world, you rock. We'll see you next week. And my closing thought is, no, that's not it. See, I did it wrong. I can't believe this.